Whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today, but if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on through our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and tuning safe. You are tuned in to the hottest live stream on Thursdays, and if you're here with me, then it's the place to be. It is Random Topic Thursdays, only on channel gboot2786, on Gavin Richard on Facebook, as well as YouTube, my backup channel. And if you're on Periscope, it's Gavin Rich 2786. We have on two special guests that'll be joining us tonight to discuss various topics, including, let me introduce them, author extraordinaire Shawn James, author of The Man Crisis. Shawn is joining us, as well as Reverend Bernard Childress of blackgenocide.org. It hasn't been a while since I've seen the Reverend, but it's good to see him. But gentlemen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here. Doing pretty good.
Well, we're going to have all this and more, ladies and gentlemen. But of course, as you know, we like to start off with getting on up. So I'm sure I'll get a copyright strike again on YouTube for playing my own song. But we'll clear that up later. But I'm going to play it anyway.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat. Because on the dance floor is where we're moving. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the. Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, start to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop or do the bunny hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body body moving, gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, start to feel your body moving, gotta get on up and shake something up. Feel the groove, get on the floor, get on up. Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you're breathing, you're achieving. So if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll feel the groove. Get on the floor. Get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, start to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something up. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up, baby. Gotta get on up, baby. Come on, baby. Gotta get on up, baby. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
All right. Feel the groove, get on the floor. It's time to get on up, everybody. Welcome again to another exciting edition of Random Topic Thursdays with your host, your boy, Gavin Richard, Esquire. Or as Steve Harvey would say, Esquire. Yeah. Of course, let me bring on my extreme panel. Ladies and gentlemen, we have on with us Pastor Childress and author Shawn James. Shawn, of course, has written over 75 books or better. I ask you all to please buy every book that he has so our brother could get a vacation finally. He always tells me, he can't go on vacation or anything. I'm busy writing because this is what he does full time. Shawn, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are the sales on the latest book? I think it was the ISIS.
They're pretty decent. I'm trying to get the numbers a little higher so that I can get higher up in the Amazon ranking. So I'm asking everybody to please go out and pick up a copy of ISIS: Revenge of the Cyber Goddess and the other 2021 book, John Haynes Taking Care of Business, because I'm trying to take the SJS Direct imprint to another level and get more positive stories out there for all the brothers and sisters.
All right, and of course we have Reverend Childress. Reverend Childress' website, blackgenocide.org, blackgenocide.org. Pastor, it's good to see you.
Oh, good to be here.
All right, good. How's the family?
Oh, everything is moving forward. There's always something, but we've learned how to take those hits, keep going, and try to be productive and a blessing to somebody else.
Now, I always call you Reverend or I call you Pastor, and titles are important because I want to get into our first subject tonight, this incident that happened with NFL Hall of Famer Deion Primetime Sanders, coach of Jackson State University, historical HBCU. And we know him because Southern plays against him all the time. But where I'm from, they call me Coach Prime. And that is for a reason. I don't know if anybody, you gentlemen, have seen this, but this is a video coming from this is Deion Sanders. Apparently, he was being interviewed. He was in the SWAC conference. He was doing a press conference, and it's a junket that they did for the entire conference. It wasn't just this reporter, but apparently he took issue with this reporter here who kept calling him out by his first name instead of calling him Coach Sanders or Coach Prime as he wanted. And I don't know if you've seen it, but we'll go ahead and play it for anybody. Don't tell me they're claiming a copyright issue. Network issue. Hold on, we'll replay it. But he stormed out of the interview, and I'll just play it. It's a 20-second clip.
Gravian, the multimedia marketplace.
Hey, Deion, I was just wondering if you could.
Let's back up a little bit. You don't call Nick Saban Nick. You don't call me Deion. Okay?
Call Nick Saban Nick.
You don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. That's a lie. You call Nick Nick. You know you get cussed out on the spot. So don't do that. Treat me like Nick.
Hey, Deion.
All right.
Just
So Coach Prime walked out of that press conference. He didn't walk out of the entire media press day that was going on. A lot of people thought he was doing that. And he released this statement on his Twitter. He says, quote, "Respect is something that you must demand and stand for. Give respect and honor those that should be respected. And if you don't respect them, don't allow your feelings to escalate the situation into something else unhealthy. Always maintain your peace." Hold on, let me zoom in for everybody. Always maintain your peace and joy because it could cost you dearly. And don't allow anyone or anything to take that away. Learn to walk away and see another day your way. Truth. This guy here who he was talking to, his name, last name is Suss. I'm trying to find out what his real name is. Nick Suss, that's his actual name. He is a reporter. I don't know which magazine he reports from or what newspaper, but apparently Primetime didn't like the fact that Suss called him out of his name. And he says Suss responded by saying he typically refers to the people he interviews by their first name, including Alabama Saban. "When I interview people, I call them by their first name," he told the outlet, "whether it's someone I've been working with for years or someone I'm talking to for the first time. This is true of the coaches and players on the Ole Miss beat, the coaches and players at Mississippi State, and Southern Miss when I help out covering their teams," he added. And as recently as January, even Sanders too. Now, my thing is, and I'll go into that, Tariq Nasheed, shout out to him. He has been talked about this on his channel and showed episodes, different instances where there are white people who do not call, for instance, one video I should say, did not call this sister who was a doctor by her title, even though she repeatedly asked her to do so. And you see, I respect people by their given titles. That's just the way that I was raised. If I saw, like for instance, even though I'm strongly acquainted with Pastor Childress, I wouldn't call him by his first name, Quinard. I just call you Reverend Childress because that's your title. Shawn, of course, he doesn't have a title and he lets me call him Shawn, but if Shawn had a title, if he were a judge, if he were a doctor, I would call him Dr. James, or Dr. J for short, although we only know there's one Dr. J. But when seeing something like that, Shawn, what did you think of what happened? You think Coach Prime was right for walking out of there?
I definitely believe that Coach Prime was right, and he was taking his respect the way a man is supposed to take his respect. Now, at the beginning of the interview, he corrected the individual and let him know to call him Coach.
Right.
And he let him know that this is the title he wanted to be addressed by. But this arrogant white person decided to continue going on, calling him by his first name, expressing disrespect towards the coach and not respecting the title of his position of authority. So the coach just got up and left. And that is what a man of character does, because a man of character is only going to say something once. And if you continue to press on, that's when he's going to walk away from the situation, because he knows that if this man does not show me my respect, what I'm going to do is take my respect by walking away from this situation. And I have to say that Coach Sanders showed greater character here, because in any other situation, this same reporter would have probably been cursed out. And if he had editors, they would have addressed him too regarding this, because this is just something that is just not done. I mean, if this man was in the presence of Joe Biden, would he call him Joe? Would he disrespect the president of the United States that way? Because you don't go out here and do this to people who have official titles. No, you show them the respect that they are supposed to have.
Right. Pastor Childress.
I think Shawn summed it up. I think it seemed to me Deion was expecting him to do just what he did, and he was prepared to walk out. I mean, there was no hesitation. I think he was also trying to send a message somehow that he is a coach. He's to be respected as a coach. There's possibly that there's some things going on around him that are diminishing him and his character. He's, other than Jim Brown, he very well likely is the best football player ever to suit up. So he should get that respect. He's a coach, and I think Shawn summed it up well. That he did the right thing. He did the right thing not only for himself but for other African American coaches coming up after him.
Right, most definitely. And I think what here's the thing. I understand that these are two adults, and yes, I was listening to a brother who was an athlete. They're not required to call those guys coach or anything like that. They're not players. However, it's a respect thing. If someone asks to be called by this title, then I would respect them and call them by that title. It's just being professional. Mm-hmm. And he warned him, if you saw the video once, I like to be called Coach Prime or Coach Sanders. He did it again, basically being a smart at, well, I think not just being a smart aleck, but just being flat out disrespectful. Like, man, I don't care what you tell me to call you. This is what I'm going to call you. And Deion, Sanders, he took his respect and he walked out. He took his name and walked out, which is what a man would do in a situation like that. Because I've been in situations where if I have been disrespected, I will check that individual and say, no, that's not what I am. No, you don't tell me this. Because I've been in depositions where I've been told to shut up. And I had to correct that person. And the only reason why I stayed and didn't walk out was because I was filling in for a fellow attorney who wanted me to stand in for the deposition. But this was at my office, and I checked the dude. And afterwards, he wanted to shake my hand. I was like, no. Told him to get the hell out of here. Get out of my office, because you're not going to do that with me. But that's the type of thing we have to do as black men when we feel we're disrespected. You got to take your respect with you. And this man, Nick Suss, he writes for the Ledger out in Ole Miss. I believe that's what it's called, the name of the newspaper. Ledger's old, he's the Ledger's Ole Miss writer. Okay, so maybe that has something to do with it. I know Ole Miss had the Rebel. The Colonel Rebel used to be the mascot. They removed him, but I remember seeing that. So it is what it is. But yeah, Deion Sanders, shout out to him. I think he stood up like a man. Darius from Atlanta says he probably thought he could disrespect Coach Sanders because he's coaching at HBCU. A lot of people don't take the HBCU seriously.
That's right. That's right.
A lot of people do not take the That's a good point, Darius, because they do not take HBCUs seriously on a playing level. And, part of the reason for that, too, is that after integration started, when you saw Alabama recruit, like Bear Bryant recruiting a lot of black players, they decided, and a lot, of course, they were getting the national exposure. So once that stuff happened, all of the black players are saying, I want to go to University of Alabama. I want to go to USC, like OJ. I want to go to UCLA. I want to go to Michigan, all of these other states. And they were leaving the HBCUs. Now, you notice the HBCUs don't appear on primetime television like they used to. Like Bayou Classic was something I remember that would come on every Saturday, the Saturday of the week of Thanksgiving. Being that I live here in New Orleans, it would come on NBC primetime. Now they play it on like a subsidiary channel of NBC. So it doesn't exist anymore. Or if you see it on ESPN, it's on ESPN Plus or ESPN3, which are not the premium channels that they do. And they get more. They don't get as much alumni support too, like they did, like the predominantly white institutions get, like LSU. I can tell you they have a strong alumni association. Same thing with Alabama. I'm sure they have a strong alumni association, and they get all the exposure. That's, it's just like what we typically saw as heroes coming up as kids. The reason why a lot of black kids looked up to the Batmans and Supermans and Hulk Hogan and James Bond is because That's all that's on. That's what's pushed.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's pushed. Pastor, I do want to ask you this because I'm glad you're on. You didn't come on a couple of weeks ago when we talked about this, but Bill Cosby was released from jail, from prison. They said that his due process rights were violated, and they overturned the conviction based off that because the prosecutor, and I've been very vocal about this, the prosecutor did stuff that was not ethical. To me, it was outright illegal. The way he handled the whole thing. But I want to know what your thoughts were, where you were when you found out it was overturned.
Well, I was, like I said, mixed emotions. Mixed emotions because I'm a man of righteousness. He did basically admit that he did these things. But you're right. And I think I was listening, I forgot who it was, the African-American lawyer, Terrell. Basically, he said that was too much of an oversight by a prosecutor to make. And he said it appears to be suspicious. Now, of course, people in your field would basically be able to take note. How do you make an error that way? And how do you agree to one thing and do something else, even though it was a change in prosecutors? They share notes. I believe it was deliberate. That's me. I could be wrong. I think that was the plan all along, that they would make that misstep and he would be able to basically walk afterwards. I think unquestionably that he was that treatment he did receive when he came to the double cross. They knew later on they'd be able to appeal that. Now, if that didn't happen, then it was the total railroading of a brother. Okay, if it isn't, is the first scenario that I set before you. But how do you get Bill Cosby? He's a very wealthy man. That's why, indeed, NBC and all the rest of them came after him. They couldn't get him in a fair thing. They couldn't get him industry against industry or in the economic realm. He's very savvy, very, very smart individual. And I appreciate his contribution to television, to Hollywood, to the albums that he
education of our children.
Yeah. So, but and the imagery that he presented was valueless. I think I don't know if he'll ever get credit for that now, but it certainly is. So that's like I said, the audience needs to know he did say he did it.
Well, let me correct you.
Okay, fine. Go right ahead.
Because he did not admit to what he admitted to, and I've read the deposition. He did not admit to drugging or raping any woman.
Raping? No, he didn't. He didn't agree to raping, but he did agree to giving them the Quaaludes or whatever they were.
Giving someone a Quaalude is not the same legally as drugging someone. If you read who he was referring to. This particular woman, and she's gone public. Her name was Teresa Serignice. Mm-hmm. She admitted that he told her what it was. He gave it to her, and she voluntarily took it. Now, that's not a crime. Now, if you want to say what he did was immoral, obviously being a married man, sleeping around, okay. But a lot of people get that mixed up and saying that he admitted to drugging and raping. He wasn't even convicted on a rape charge. What he was convicted for was a groping charge. And even so, let's look at this from a legal, not even a legal perspective. She received nearly $4 million in a settlement and signed this woman who he went to jail for, and signed an NDA agreement not to disclose this. She accepted this. Even after the assault, alleged assault, even with this woman, the woman I was talking about with the Quaaludes, these women kept going back to him. They kept going back. That lady I was just telling you about, Reverend, she actually asked him for monies and continue to see him at his concerts and so forth. But all of them, really. Most of, if you listen carefully to what they're saying. So that's what the same thing Judge Joe Brown, and shout out to Judge, hope he's get well soon. when he was on Mark Lamont Hill, and he's like, I deal with evidence. You see, he did not get to what he was doing. He said, you all you sissified punks don't know what you're talking about. See, these were groupies. They went and they got on in the closet. They laid on top. They screwed and drew. They gave head and all of this other kinds of stuff. See, I deal with evidence. This was not evident. He did not do anything. His conviction is overturned and his presumption of innocence stands as a rock, which is correct. Once your conviction is overturned,
right?
If your conviction is overturned, it's like it never happened. So your presumption of innocence is reverted. But, has the damage been done to him? Yes. I certainly think, and this relates to something that Shawn said on his video yesterday in Harvey Superboy, if Harvey is listening, where he talked about the dysfunctionality in Hollywood that we see of Black families, Black television. Practically, and I'm going to talk about this to our next topic, everything I have seen in every show, in particular on the Stars Network. Now, I'm not a prude. I like watching Power. I think it's a great program. But practically now, in every Power spinoff that I've seen, spinoff and prequel that they have, because this one is about Kanan, then the next one it's about Tariq, Ghost's son. They, of course, they're drug dealers. But the other thing, too, is they have to have one. I'm trying to be careful because I don't want my video. I've been censored too, Reverend. They have taken down a couple of my videos, whether I'm talking about vaccines or if I was talking about the alphabet community. I've been put in time out. I've had my videos removed. So I'm being careful what I say. But there is now a gay character in the Power spinoff, in both Power spinoffs, in some way, shape, or form. This one I saw in spoilers if you haven't seen the Power Raising Kanan. Kanan's cousin is involved in a relationship with a lesbian woman, white girl at that. So it's just like they just throw it out everywhere. And I can imagine if Bill Cosby had bought NBC, I don't think you would see these types of programs. You certainly would have.
No, you wouldn't have. You wouldn't have seen them. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You would have balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there would have been balance. It'd been much better. I would say demonstratively better for African Americans if Bill Cosby would have had his vision to be played out in America. I think it'd be no doubt. I don't think we would be going for a lot of these race baiting issues and strategies that are being done presently habitually by the Democratic Party to just get their agenda across. Because let's say, like you mentioned before, who did we see? James Bond. You saw you saw Batman. You saw that. That creates a certain mindset. It may not be the best, but it's basically it does impact us. I would have loved to have been able to see the characters, the sitcoms, and the movies that he would have produced, because first of all, he's an extremely intelligent man, and he knows people very well, and he knows our community very well, and he knows the world. So it'd have been great. Will we ever see that? He's trying to go on tour. I wouldn't have suggested that, but it would have been great to see. And I still remember the albums that he produced. I can't remember the name of his brother right now.
Russell.
Yeah, Russell, my brother whom I slept with. I could turn that on right now. I mean, with this present generation, and they would be able to connect and have a good laugh off of that particular album. We don't hear them. I was going to search on YouTube one time, because every now and then I do teach our youth, and I try to let them see basically real comedy, where it's not vulgar, where it's not anything that's basically that you'd be shameful to hear, but you really were, it brought laughter, humor, and laughter does the heart well, and we need to be able to see things that make us laugh, but not what they're producing right now. I'm very discouraged about even what's Tyler Perry is just going off
Oh,
the ledge, off the ledge completely. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we need Divine. You know, I used to.
his stuff is always. I'm not gonna say I haven't watched it, but his stuff has always been bad. Even when stuff I like, it's always been bad. Like he wears a messed up. You think billions of dollars he could afford better wigs and wardrobes that he's worked, and
he has done more
than writers. Yeah,
he has done more to the feminization of men than anyone of this era. And we're laughing at it. We're just not getting it. Really, at one time I thought the rappers would save us, but I don't know.
Shawn, you got something to add on this?
Yeah. I believe if Bill Cosby had bought NBC, he would have definitely continued on pushing positive images of Black people. And I believe we would have seen a whole different perception of Black America. And I believe a shaping of Black America, because when the Cosby Show was on, it really started to get people to really take a look at themselves and how they carried and conducted themselves. And it ushered in a golden age as related to the Black image. And it also transformed a lot of lives. Like shows like A Different World had Black kids thinking about going to college. And I believe what we would have seen is other types of artists and creative types out here creating shows talking about Black-owned businesses, group economics, and talking about building a strong Black family. And as a guy who watched The Cosby Show as a teenager, that show practically inspired me to do what I do on the SJS Direct Imprint. And my mission was to create positive stories about the Black experience and show you a different side of Black life. So I wanted to build on the legacy of Bill Cosby, and that's what I'm trying to do right now with many of the books I produce on the SJS Direct Imprint. And I believe if Cosby was on NBC, I probably would have been trying to go and try to work with him, because out here right now, I'm trying to do the same thing that he's trying to do with what he did with the Cosby Show, and get more positive images of Black people and show Black people that there's a larger world to the Black community than the ghetto, and show you a larger world. And that's what I think Bill Cosby would have did if he had gotten NBC. And it would, again, redefined an entire generation and showed them a completely different way and taken the whole Black community to a whole different level.
Right. Well, something else Bill Cosby did that was revolutionary is that in the 1980s, I don't know if anyone remembers this, but he tried to acquire, or he and Dr. J were in the process of acquiring a Coca-Cola bottling plant in Philadelphia.
Remember that, yeah. If you can hear us, we lost your volume.
Yeah, I think his audio is out.
Oh, okay. Okay, so anybody who's listening, we're waiting for Gavin to come back.
Yeah, it looks like he's having some sort of technical difficulties.
And the point you raised about the college, of course, growing up watching the Bill Cosby Show, and what was that college in Atlanta? Spelman.
Yeah.
Spelman and others that were highlighted. They actually did a study, sociological study, and found that more Black young adults went to college, aspired to go to college, and went to college during those times than any other time prior. So, and they credited it to that show. I thought that was, and probably correct, I thought that was a powerful tribute to, the show itself.
It shows you how influential television can be on a person. And that's why it's important for us to feed our minds the right kind of programming. And that's what Bill Cosby was giving people, healthy programs so that they could see a healthier aspect of life. And that's one of the things I really admired Dr. Cosby for doing, is really thinking about educating people with the programs he put on, because he knew that this type of content had a major influence on Black people, because a lot of Black people, they watch TV, and if they see good content, they'll want to go out here and do good things.
Do good things, right?
Right. Well, I don't know what happened. It looked like I got kicked out, but I was saying here that Cosby, I have an article that's from here. Bill Cosby had a stake in bottling in the Coca-Cola company, and he actually bought a bottling plant. In fact, he was one of the first African American to do so. He and Dr. J. If anybody remembers back in the day, they did a commercial together. I don't want to play the commercial because I'll end up getting a copyright strike more than likely. I'm really tired of that. Yeah, Vlad TV gave me a copyright strike for playing Kevin Steele's ad. He doesn't even own. And I got a copyright strike because of that crap.
And it was under fair use.
Yeah.
Right.
It's under fair use. So, but how does he get a copyright?
Yeah, how does he get a copyright to something he doesn't even own?
Right.
That just shows you how screwed up YouTube is, and how it's just run by a bunch of, I think, mentally unstable people.
No, it's a bunch of wackos. Just say it. Come out and say it.
It's like a bunch of nut jobs running the whole thing.
They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
Hard left wackos. Yeah, but Bill Cosby bought a share. Another gentleman by J. Bruce Llewellyn. They bought a $100 million Coke bottling company back in the day. And, you see pictures here. That's Dr. J and Mr. Llewellyn, J. Bruce Llewellyn. And that's Bill Cosby. Of course, he had a lot of ads in the day.
Yeah.
That he did. But he did try to buy NBC, and you can actually go. I got kicked out at this point, but you guys can look at the article. Anyone can go there. This was the article with Vanity Fair, where they talked about it, his campaign to take over NBC. Nikki Fink wrote that article. So, and it's not a conspiracy theory. It's not a conspiracy theory. He did try to do it. The Cosby Show is worth about $1 billion in syndication before these rape allegations started, and not all of them are rape allegations. Some of the women say he touched me inappropriately, or he tried. Lou Ferrigno's wife. This was before, obviously, she married the Hulk. She said he tried to kiss her. And my friend Drew, Story News, Drew did an excellent job in the documentary and covering all of these women and going in their backgrounds and what they were saying. And if people listened to it, they realized it was BS. But anyone can go there, look at the article, Reverend. I encourage even your followers just to look at it. That's the white source, Vanity Fair article from 1993, Nikki Fink, Bill Cosby's attempt to take over NBC. So it's not a conspiracy theory. And if people like Charlamagne the God and the Breakfast Club who tried to say, oh, that's a lie, that's not true, why are they saying stuff like this? It's called research. You're in the media, do it.
Right.
Yeah. But Shawn, you were about to say something else?
No, I think that I was thinking about something else. So.
Oh, what was it?
It was just something minor. It wasn't really related to the subject. So.
Oh, okay. All right. So then I talked about the alphabet. I don't know if I should do this last or I should do it now. I'll do it. We'll get back to it. I want to talk about this. I don't know if you all have seen this, but this happened in Alabama. I want to play the video. In Tarrant, Alabama, at the city council meeting, a city council member by the name of, his name is Tommy Bryant, and he has a history of making racial connotations and racial epithets apparently, because he called the mayor a boy once. But I'm going to play for the video, but he actually stood up and is refusing to resign after he stood up in a meeting and asked, do we have a house nigger in here? Do we? I'm going to play the video so everybody, let me just play the video. Some of you may have seen it.
No, I haven't seen it.
I'm talking about some people in the chat, Rev, but yeah. Now, the city council was talking about some comments that were made even by his wife, because apparently she's been making racially charged comments on Facebook.
Thank you. Anyone else? Chuck, and then Alan. I want to direct this.
That's the mayor too, a black man, a Republican.
I've known him for some time now, and he seems to be the object of punching bag quite often in the city council. And I find it odd that he does not try to defend himself when he has people that confront him. I know last city council he had, I believe Ms. Beltran and somebody that said they were from the LGBT community that addressed him directly. And like I said, I don't understand that. So I have a statement that I'd like to make, and I've got several questions I'd like to ask you. But I would like to give Mr. Bryan an opportunity to express himself. If I hope he doesn't just sit there.
Let's see, we got 10 minutes till it gets to that
I've
point.
never known him to be this honorable man, and I would like him to address some of the stuff that's been hurled at him.
Okay. If I may have the time there.
Sure.
Okay. We talk about the book, the Alabama League of Municipalities, and the bickering going back and forth between the individuals here, and it really does not make any difference if the mayor was black or white or whatever. The league states that we have a council of different individuals, and these individuals have different ideas, and we express those ideas. We don't always agree, and if I don't agree, if I have an idea of something and I hardly disagree with anybody else on the council, I'm going to argue my point to the fullest. So if everybody thinks that we all need to get along, that's the league itself says you're not going to do that. The other thing that comes up, people made an accusation about me and a comment Ms. Beltran was making, and she said something about LGBT, whatever it is anyway. And as that was going on, and about that time, I think it was, I said no. And the mayor made a comment in our last council meeting that the council is not against the homosexual crowd and whatever. Well, let me say this so y'all understand. I am a combat wounded veteran. In 1966 through 68, I fought in a war. When I was in that war, I fought for the United States of America and for the citizens. I did not fight for the Baptists, the Methodists, the Presbyterians, the whites, the blacks, the Hispanic, or whatever. I fought for individuals. And when you're talking about embracing everybody, and everybody here said, yes, we all agreed to that, and that was great. I don't think you really understand what you were saying, what you was agreeing to. For example, Ms. Beltran says she is a Muslim. All right. Buddhist. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. But Okay, but now let's say we have someone here as a Muslim, all right, and we embrace the Muslim. If you know anything about the Muslim religion, if you're not a Muslim, their religion says they need to kill you. I know nothing about the Muslim religion. Do I have the floor or does someone else have the floor? I mean, you want to address me so I can address you. Don't do that. Mayor, I was talking and someone interrupted me. Please take care of that. And if you read the book, if somebody interrupts, you can have the police remove them.
Okay, no, hold up. Y'all used to do that with Tuck. Removing people.
This is what y'all used to.
We're not doing that. We will not use our police to harass people. That's where I draw the line. Because I was on the receiving end.
I don't comment because the mayor does not take care of business like the Alabama League Municipality says it's supposed to be taken care of. I was talking to you and explaining something. Now, if someone wants to get the Quran and read it, or I can get it and show them what it says. Next thing we're talking about, and I'm going to offend a lot of people, and I don't mean to do it like this, but we want to embrace everybody. You got a bunch in here from the KKK. Are you going to embrace them? Ain't happening, are we? So you see, I don't agree with embracing everybody. I embrace an individual. If you are a Muslim, I embrace you because you're an individual, not because you belong to that group. Jackie, you say you're homosexual, lesbian, right?
I didn't say that.
Okay, you didn't. Okay, okay. Let's say someone here is that. I don't embrace them because of their sexuality or their preference. I embrace them as an individual. So when someone comes up and says, "Let's embrace everybody," the answer is no. I don't embrace everybody. I embrace an individual. Now let's get back to the bickering back and forth. Just saw an example of it. There is a book called the Alabama League of Municipalities, and in that book it says if someone is disrespectful, interrupting, then the police can remove them. And I asked the mayor to do that. He said no, and that's where you get the bickering right there. Now here, you read the law, the book. I'm telling you what the book says. Mayor says, I'm not going to go by the book. So that's where we have the problem right there. And until the mayor decides to go by the book, like it's supposed to be, he and I will always have a difference. Now, does that, let me tell y'all something else, people. Does that mean I dislike the mayor because he and I bicker? No. No. He's a human being. He has his thoughts and his right, and I have mine. And he can do what he wants to, and I don't go home saying I'm going to like to beat the fool out of him or something like that. What I say is, I wish that he would do what the book says, go by the book. And we can argue all day long. Does not mean that I'm hostile toward him. And I don't really think, Mayor, I don't think you're really hostile toward me, are you? No, I don't have a problem with it. We just, what we're doing, what politics does. And so for all the people out there in Never Land who think that the council's supposed to get along,
10 minutes of it.
But the book even tells
I want
you
everybody to hear it. I'm not going to play an hour and 35
and you're going to express those opinions. Now, let me say
we're getting close.
This,
I know.
you're asking why I never comment, because the last time that Jackie came up and was making comments and people yielded their time to her time after time after time, when I tried to say something, she would interrupt. And then at the end of it, the mayor asked, "Are you going to say anything?" I said, "Yes." And as I started speaking, he interrupted. So knowing that I'm going to get interrupted and not be able to say what I need to say, I usually just keep my mouth shut and don't say anything. So that's the reason I don't say things, is because I get interrupted, I'm not respected, and nobody cares about what the law is, about what the rules are. They want to do their own thing here in the city of Terry.
Okay, I'm just going to ask you outright. Let me, Councilor Bryant, do you mind? So I think part of the discord that you're receiving from citizens is a direct result of some of the things that your wife is posting on Facebook. And let me actually read something that she posted. She says the Terry Tabler.
Listen, this is between me and Chuck and the citizens. There's nothing at all about what my wife is posting.
But your wife speaks on your behalf.
Would you please
She
believe my
acknowledges
wife?
she speaks on your behalf, and
No,
your
she
wife,
doesn't. No one speaks on my behalf.
the Tarrant Tattler, this also applies to the mayor and his racist ways
Sorry,
of
Mr.
getting
Davis.
rid
Sorry, Mr. Davis.
of all the white city employees so he can replace them with his chosen blacks. Some of those hired don't have the qualifications of those who quit because of the mayor or were fired by him. The city will suffer. The guys who work with street and sanitation left, and there is no one qualified to operate the machines to cut weeds and grass on the sides of the roads that are not citizens' property. That is the reason why people are coming after you.
Mr. Mayor, my wife has not put anything on Facebook in quite a while, and
No, that's not true.
So was that you?
there are
That's
people.
not true, because she made a comment about me on the Tarrant Tattler just the other day.
Evidently, there's a way for someone to do something and put somebody else's name on it. Because
Okay.
she hasn't put anything on Facebook in a while.
Because I've never disrespected you or your wife. And I feel that way because I have a spouse and won't be unto anyone that disrespects Mr. Preston. I'm just here to tell everybody.
And that's
So
what I'm
she
talking
does
about.
put on the,
This was about me and not my wife, and now
But your
So
wife,
it's changed.
your wife puts herself in politics by posting things on Facebook, and she attributes it to you.
Mr.
If
Mayor,
you don't
my-
want your
my-
family
my-
involved,
my
then she
wife-
shouldn't post
My
things
wife can do
and
what she
attribute
wants
to
to do.
you.
She's a big girl. She can take care of herself. And I'd appreciate it if you want to talk to me about what I do, you can talk to me about what I do. I'm big enough to take care of
Well,
myself.
well, even
Your
your wife
wife
did
seems to
say
have
on there
a
that you
fixation
were against
of-
LGBTQ. She said that in one of those groups.
Yeah.
And she calls us
The
blacks, and I'm the
N-word,
other
the
black
N-word. Let's
girl.
get to the N-word.
I mean, I
Hey,
know I'm
do we
black.
have, hey, do we have,
you want to address what I have to say?
do we have a house nigger in here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we? Hey, do we? Would she please stand up?
Y'all was seeing this, right? Cameras.
That's what Miss Freeman was called.
That's what the mayor called her. What do y'all think about that?
All right.
Huh? Y'all
Now,
like
this is
that?
In
Alabama.
executive session, it was not in.
Now, this is in Alabama.
I want to read something,
Okay.
Chuck, I want to read
I'm almost
something else
done with
that
it
Nancy Brown
Because it's been
posted.
going on for
She
too
says,
long.
we
Never
have
go back to
questioned
life.
where he lives. He owns multiple rental houses in Tarrant, but no one
But
knows,
eventually-
but no one we have talked to knows where he lives. The
Watch
address,
this lady's reaction
the
here.
address given for him at one point is a rental with a Hispanic family living there. He told my husband he
Now,
is
that's the
rich and
mayor,
can live
Wayman
anywhere he wants to. This was after he belittled
she starts
Tarrant and said
crying.
only poor people live here. He seems to think being mayor made him God. As for how he got elected, he sent vans to pick up people who probably never voted before. He promised them things for their participation to get a black mayor elected. Not sure if he paid them anything or brought a meal for them to come. But there was van after van with this name on them coming to City Hall. Of course, they were all full of blacks. Smiley face.
Okay.
Now, look, I'm not going to play the rest of the video because it speaks for itself what happened. But that's the mayor, a black man, Wayman Newton. And apparently he has had issues before. This council person, Tommy Bryant, he has compared the mayor to Adolf Hitler. He says he is a dictatorial person, reminds me of Adolf Hitler. He's also stated and referred to this mayor who's 40 years old as a boy. He actually made that remark. There's no, whether, Republican or Democrat, there was no place, even if he was quoting someone or if he was trying to, and I don't think he was, for him to use the word house nigger in public like that at a public council hearing. So there have been calls for him to resign. He's denied that he's a racist and all of this stuff, but this was heard by everybody. The Alabama Democrats are calling that he's saying he's unfit, he's a racist, he's unfit to serve. And, at that point, and I can say this, and, even as an attorney myself, I can't encourage violence or anything of that nature, but if oh, that's Dad, everybody. He's standing up. Say hello.
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 How's it going?
Go get a chair there. Okay. So yeah, there's no place. What I was getting at is there's absolutely no place for him to be serving on city council after those remarks, especially, in public like that, Reverend Childress, something like that. This makes it sound like he sounds like this is in the 1960s.
Well, I was watching that. I'm surprised that the mayor didn't dismiss him.
I agree.
And I'm surprised that the other two African Americans I saw there didn't jump up. Right. That response was very putrid. I think it was lackluster. I'm trying. Did I miss something? So the person, I don't know. That's a strange town. I don't know those individuals. And yes, he should unquestionably resign. It was uncouth. It was the political etiquette was certainly one that caused more strife and division. It was vulgar, and I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. I'm surprised he would stand up and say that in a meeting, knowing that he's an elected official. It sounds like he's been around for a while.
He wants to run for mayor. He said, I can win the race for mayor.
Okay. And my wife can do what she wants.
Right. It doesn't matter if he was quoting someone, they're still, which I don't.
I think the mayor needs to be called out on that too.
The mayor
did not do enough. He did not do enough in that situation.
I agree with you on that. I think the mayor should have immediately stopped the meeting.
There you go.
And that he apologized for either to apologize or adjourn the meeting. Right. Really, I would have adjourned the meeting at that point, because something like that, that's unacceptable for an elected official to use a racial slur.
That's a good point, because he made it seem like this is okay. This is a part of the meeting. He's just a little hot-headed. Let's move on. That was really.
I'm more surprised. But this tells me something about the mayor. He didn't get up and whack the guy right in his jaw.
Or something along that line.
Yeah, they seemed docile, and the woman who you saw was crying. Yeah, someone said there's no crying in baseball. A league of their own. What is it, Dad?
Yeah, 3-plaque. Okay.
Are you trying to get your wheelchair in? Hold on a second, guys. Shawn, you comment.
Yeah, the response from this mayor was extremely weak, and he should have hard checked that guy by ejecting him from the meeting or shutting the meeting down to let him know where the boundary was. Because when you have an ineffective leader like this who doesn't set boundaries, all it does is encourage this kind of racist to continue pushing these kind of boundaries. So when I look at this mayor, he just really did not set any sort of leadership tone, and he did not really set any sort of order. And you really need somebody to set order if they're running the executive branch of any sort of government office, because if a racist like this can run a roughshod over a mayor, then he's going to try to take more political power. And this guy is talking about running for mayor. And the scary part is he may possibly win in a place like this, because if these voters would vote for him in a city council, then that's the troubling thing here. Because how does a racist like this even get elected? That's the critical question I want to ask about those voters, because if he's using the N-word openly like this, like we're in the 1960s, there's something really wrong with that voting block, because here in 2021, this is not a man you would want to elect. And again, I look at this as two-pronged issue. One is the voters who voted for this racist, and two is the weakness and ineffectiveness of this black man to set boundaries. Because a lot of these baby boomer type guys, they want to call themselves going along to get along and trying to take the so-called high road. But sometimes you have to do like your Coach Sanders did, and just hard check this guy and let him know where the line is.
Well, here's the thing. I just read this. This is a majority black town.
That's the sad part. They shouldn't be voting for this kind of guy.
This is a majority. My understanding, I'm looking at it right here. It is that Tarrant's population is 53.1% black in 2010. They have it's a city of about 6,400 people. According to the U.S. Census, the black population make up 19.3%. This was in 2000 of the city. So Tarrant's population, though, since 2010 is 53.1%. So this is a 70, and I don't care what age he is. He knows better. He knows what he was doing.
Yeah.
He knew what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing.
And it's a shame that this mayor, Reverend Childress, you're right. This mayor is a coward to me because he could have stood up more and checked this guy after he made that remark.
Yeah.
Gayle King, and I do not like Gayle King at all. But yesterday, not yesterday, but this past week when Jeff Bezos went into space, there was some black, I can't think of his name, but a black man who, and I actually saw this, she played this audio, where he saw this little black boy running up to Jeff Bezos, and he's giving this speech about, you see, this little black kid, that is why we weren't involved in the 1960s. We're involved now. And I'm paraphrasing, but he said something along the line, you see a black child out there by the engineers and by Jeff Bezos? That's one black child that doesn't have a machine gun in his hands. How do you say something like that? Doesn't have a gun in his hands on standing on a corner.
Oh, I see what you say. Yeah. Okay.
How do you say something like that? Why would you even think of something like that? Maybe that kid had been involved in science since he was little, wanted to learn stuff like that. You don't know that he was trying to be on the street corners. And Gayle King, to her credit, she checked the individual and said, we don't want to make it sound like all black people or young black men are standing on the corners. Because what he's doing is feeding into a dangerous stereotype. Yeah, that's him. That's Charles Bolden. He's a former NASA chief.
Well,
but for him, we got nothing but cowards in these elected positions, just like your Congressional Black Caucus. I'm critical of them, but for a Negro like Charlie Bolden to say something like that was despicable. And I think this mayor, Mayor Newton, especially after this man called you a boy, you're a 40-year-old man who went to law school, and he did correct him when he did that. But once you say something like that to me, you disrespect me like that, we're done.
Yeah.
We're done. And you call a woman a house nigger, the men should have stepped, especially, I didn't see any black men. I saw maybe one or two black people in the audience, but they could have.
Definitely too much of a docile response. It really surprised me. I don't see many things that surprise me. That surprised me. That response to such. He's standing saying it, and he's very. He's very animated, and show me. I said, "Wow!" I thought he was going to be out at that point. Were those officers black? Somebody mentioned about the officers.
Well, let's look. Let me show. I got to move on, but let me show the video. This is an aerial shot, a better shot of it. Okay, there's a black officer standing right there.
Right.
That's a black woman. That's a black man sitting there. There's another black person sitting here. I mean, and they didn't get. And maybe I should have played the video a little further, but I'm looking. I fast forwarded. They still standing there. They're still sitting there. It's like nothing happened. And
Right, exactly.
I just got up. I would have at least called him a motherfucker. Excuse my language, but I called him an MF and walk out there at least.
I wouldn't have walked out.
What do you
I wouldn't have walked out, but I certainly would have stood up and called him out.
Yes.
Come on outside with me. just 3 minutes. That's all I need is a one round show. That would just whip his ass.
But this is what he had to say. This is the Charles Bolden clip. I know we got to move on for time, but I want to make sure you heard it. This is just the clip. No, I don't play it in its entirety, but he said, this is Charles Bolden. These are his remarks. First off, I think I gotta make sure the audio is on. You may not be able to hear it, so just listen carefully to what he has to say.
And it's founded on an idea. We're not there yet. It's a long trek to get to where all men are created equal. All those to see the young black boy there, excited. That answered the question for people who say, why the heck are we doing this? If he didn't answer it for you, you don't understand. You don't get it. The young man sitting there, excited as he was, that's one less black kid on a corner somewhere getting ready to use a weapon. It is really important for us to inspire young people. We have to inform them. There were no black kids standing around when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin went to the moon. We weren't a part of that. We are today. Women weren't a part of that. They are today. So this is a huge day for the nation. And
you didn't see the movie.
The unfortunate thing is that Congress didn't take a time out and turn on the TVs and watch this.
I don't want anybody to think or believe that all black kids are just hanging out on a corner. I think it's inspiration for everybody. But I get the point that you're making, that it gives other people other options that they could see. I just really wanted to clean that up because I'm sitting here going, no, Charlie, no. No, Charlie, no. I know what you were trying to say. But I don't want
should
that
say nothing at all. Shut the hell up.
How significant it is.
Shut up. And Gayle King, of all people,
wow.
Gayle, you wouldn't see it, Lisa. When she told Lisa Leslie after Kobe died about her friend, about the rape charges, and said, I never saw that. Well, you wouldn't see it, Lisa. And what did Snoop Dogg call her? Funky dog head. He checked her. Of course, he had to apologize because he works for Viacom CBS just like her. Because he's on VH1 and Gayle King is on CBS, the main station. So they're all owned by the parent company. And I think that's why, DJ said, it's bad when Gayle checks your butt. Yeah.
He's absolutely right.
I hope he has I don't wish that on anybody, but as an excuse, I wonder if he's suffering from dementia, early stages of it. That's the only excuse I would accept. Alzheimer's, but I could not accept someone saying something that. All right.
The sad thing about it, he really felt he was saying something beneficial and something uplifting to the side. You just shake your head. What are your perceptions of our people? Those are his core feelings coming out. They're not buffered now because of possibly of just what you said. But man, and I love the way she stepped in for him. I like people to try to back up somebody when they make a big mistake. She tried to clean that up. Oh wow, she probably also knew the repercussions that were coming if she didn't. Oh goodness. Well, wow.
Shawn, you had a comment on his comments, or right quick, or
on the comments about the reporter. Yeah, this is just a guy who's been brainwashed by white supremacy. And sadly, he sees black people the way the white racists see them. Right. And that's the sad part. He doesn't think that a young child can aspire to be an engineer. And he only thinks that all we are the hood and the street. And that's what the white supremacist wants black people to think about regarding themselves. And that's not who we are, because when I was a kid, I always aspired to be a writer. I always aspired to be somebody better. And the whole thing is that this mainstream media, they like to push these kind of narratives, and that's the way that they see us. And that's why a lot of people just don't want to watch any of this mainstream media, because they are anti-Black and they promote anti-Black racist narratives, and they promote these negative stereotypes and ideas about us.
And you know, the president has it wrong when he says that the greatest threat to democracy is the threat of nuclear war with China, or the threat of cyber hacking from Russian sympathizers. I just point blank believe the greatest threat to any democracy is racism. It is racism in all its natural, ugly form. And when these white folks realize that they need to invest in an effort to abolish racism and to punish people who perform racist acts, this democracy that we call America is never going to be equal. It'll never strive to better, because these sympathizers have it in their power to condemn, to ridicule, to hold back, to deceive, and to destroy. And they are going to do that regardless of what we try.
Well, no doubt about that, Dad. Let me move on to the other topic. Now, gentlemen, I have to be careful. You all should be careful as well with your words when we're talking about COVID-19 vaccines, because I had received a ban for a week and had my video removed as a result of just talking about vaccines. And
you must have told the truth.
Well, yeah. Well, I can't confirm or deny that. My channel just got monetized. Do not screw this up for me.
Oh, then I better not say what I was getting.
Well, just sanitize it. But what I am going to show you, of course, is something that the president said it earlier today. He flubbed when he made this remark. This is from the Daily Mail. Joe Biden overinflated the efficiency of vaccines, especially against the Delta variant, during his Garfield town hall on Wednesday, when he claimed the jab will prevent Americans from contracting coronavirus. He stated, we're not in a position where we think, I'm just reading what he says. This is not me this is not my.
Well, it's really true though, but go ahead. I think that's true.
We're not in a position where we think that any virus, including the Delta virus, which is much more transmissible and more deadly in terms of unvaccinated people, the various shots that people are getting now cover that. He said in a town hall meeting in Cincinnati, Ohio, "You're okay," he assured. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations. And this statement is false, considering vaccinated Americans have still contracted or have been hospitalized with the virus, and breakthrough cases are increasing with the rapid spread of the Delta variant. If you're vaccinated, you're not going to be hospitalized. You're going to be in the ICU unit, and you're not going to die. The president told host Don Lemon on stage at Mount St. Joseph's University. Now, let me show you. Oh, that's a good shot right there. I am telling you, I'm not going nowhere. You're the best man I ever known, and you, and you, and you. All right, let me stop. But look how CNN sanitized what he said. No surprise there. CNN did a fact check. They said Biden's they tried to say, well, he said that when he talked about the COVID-19 vaccines, he says, but then during a stirred exchange, I'm skipping through, he said, that since the vaccines cover the highly transmissible Delta variant of the virus, you're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations. So he said it first, and then he said it a second time, and then in a third exchange, that he says they tried to cover him what he says, where they looked at Biden's second claim that vaccinated people are not likely to get sick was accurate. But the blanket promises in his first and third comments that vaccinated people are simply not going to be hospitalized, not going to die, and even with very contagious Delta variant, not going to get COVID were inaccurate. So they tried to sanitize what he was saying. Then the next thing he did, y'all can look at CNN. I want to show you before we get into talking about it, everybody. This is, I don't know where Dad went. He'll be back, I hope. This is a video from the U.S. Surgeon General. Look at the likes to dislikes.
One fact that has been proven time and time again during this past year is that vaccines save lives. That's why 99.5% of COVID-19 deaths and 97% of hospitalizations are among the unvaccinated. It's also why nearly every death from COVID-19 is a preventable tragedy.
It's an absolute lie.
No, don't say that.
Sorry.
It was my channel. I didn't say it. It was my guest. But look at what everybody has written. Somebody wrote, taking into account the vaccine wasn't available, must have escaped them. So when it wasn't available at that time, have the cases in a lot of the hospitalizations are vaccinated. And what he didn't tell you was that it came out that most vets have 3 to 4 pre-existing medical conditions. So again, high risk, overweight people. These are just different comments. And there will be a $1 million check inside of the podium after you read the teleprompter.
That's accurate.
Well, yeah, they've been doing lottery, trying to get more and more people to get vaccinated. I'm not spreading medical information. I'm being very careful with my words tonight. But I did want to talk about it and the flub. Just sanitizing it, gentlemen, if you could. Well, let me do this. Let me ask you. You have stated earlier, Reverend, that you have no intentions on, and Shawn, you stated as well, you have no intentions of taking the vaccine.
Absolutely not.
I'm not dealing with that mess.
No.
Not at all. Okay. Even with the let me ask you, with the variants that they are saying that are out there, the Delta variant, I saw there's actually a Lambda variant, if I'm not mistaken. Does that concern you?
No, not at all. Because
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shawn.
Because the news story that they're pushing is that there's misinformation. But when I took a critical examination of everything, the misinformation is coming from your CDC, your Surgeon General, and Dr. Fauci. I made a whole video about it, but I couldn't put it on YouTube because they would take it down. So I look at the information they're presenting, and every day we're getting all of these different conflicting stories, all of this contradictions, and they are just not, they're in the same dysfunctional place that they were under President Trump. And then they want to say that, oh, it's just misinformation, but you're the one disseminating the information. And every day you're out here changing the information. And every day the information continues to contradict itself. And guys like Fauci will flip and flop every day. And that's what Rand Paul was getting on Dr. Fauci about, because the information isn't consistent. Because when you have guys who are consistent, you'll get the same facts every time. But with these guys, you get all of these different contradictions. For example, at one hospital, a guy said, oh, you can get this virus by just touching something for 30 seconds. But there are reports that state that if you go out here and clean surfaces, then there's nothing there. So you're getting all of these conflicting pieces of data. And again, the data is coming from one source, but then they want to say it's coming from these 12 people on social media. But that makes no logical sense, because most of the people on social media are talking about the talking points you're presenting, and everything you're presenting just constantly contradicts itself. And this is what really makes a complete mess of things. But the Biden administration wants to make it look like it's outside people, but it's always been these officials, and these officials have been the problem. And they actually proved Donald Trump's point about them not being consistent, because this is what Donald Trump was dealing with. And I'm seeing the same type of inconsistency here, but they want to sit there and go and make it look like, oh, it's the people who are the problem. And when you start blaming the American people for your shortcomings, it shows me that these people who are in charge clearly are not competent and really don't have a handle on things, because you're saying that the American people are the problem because they don't want to go out here and take this, whatever it is. But the problem is that people are looking at you and they're not seeing any sort of consistency, and they're not seeing any sort of consistency as related to everything. And you continue to flip and flop. Like recently, all of the states took the mask mandates down, but then all of a sudden, now you have Dr. Fauci talking about people need to mask up in the fall. So all of this flipping and flopping is a serious problem. And the American people really need to start calling their officials on all of this waffling, because you're the one saying that there's misinformation, but you're the one who disseminates the information. And this dissemination of information in this dysfunctional fashion really shows the failure of leadership, and really shows how the problems, again, were not your President Trump, but it was these officials who were under him. And these officials really they'll sit there and say, oh, the information changes every day, but there's clearly no leadership there. And these guys just are going to run the country into the ground, because eventually you're going to run out of tax dollars to be able to pay for things like hospitals and health insurance, to pay for hospitals with this approach. And the approach here is one of the big problems, because when I looked at that nerd called a Surgeon General and the way he was acting, I mean, his social awkwardness is part of the problem with this whole campaign. And these nerds, they just don't know how to go out here and talk to people. They have the worst people skills, like your Jen Psaki. She just has terrible people skills. And it's the terrible people skills that are part of the problem with this whole rollout for this jab. It's just that these people have the worst interpersonal skills. And instead of them looking at themselves and saying, my approach isn't working, they continue to do more of the same, which is what nerds usually do, is do more of the same. And they don't understand that that's the definition of insanity. You sitting there doing things like volunteering.
Nerds rule the world, Shawn. Never forget that.
Yeah, but nerds just don't have any people skills. They don't really know how to go out here and communicate a message. And when they saw that the numbers were not where they wanted them to be, instead of them regrouping, they go out here and start going from a position of weakness, pandering to the public with lotto tickets, marijuana, donuts, coffee, French fries, begging people. And again, that's coming from a position of weakness. And that approach is going to turn people off, because it's you coming from that position of weakness and not coming from a position of strength. So they're sitting there thinking, oh, why aren't things working? Well, things aren't working because you're approaching things the way a nerd would do, coming from a position of weakness, acting and begging people to do something. And then when things don't go your way, you go from begging to threatening. And these approaches, they just don't work. And when you see that the people are out here rolling this out, and then they have these terrible people skills, this is one of the problems that they're having. And they're not really taking a look at themselves and saying, hey, the way we are talking to the people is turning them off. And this is why we're not getting the information conveyed the way we want to convey it. So I see the real problem here with a lot of it is that they talk about misinformation, but you're presenting the information the same way a socially awkward nerd would present the information. And then when you get all these conflicting stories that don't add up, then you're sitting there saying that it's outsiders doing it. But no, it's your presentation of the information, and it's your whole approach to things that turns people off. And you're not understanding that here we have something that you're presenting in a way that is not really encouraging people, because the way you're presenting it is by saying, oh, I want you to take this, but I don't want to be liable for it. And we have no approval, but I want you to take it so that we can get on with our life. And you're not understanding that approach to information doesn't give people an incentive to go out here and take this medicine, because why would I take something that is not approved by the FDA? Why would I take something that's experimental? I know. But these guys, they just don't look at themselves and see that you're like the nerd talking too much information. And when you go out here and give too much information and your information is all conflicting, you're not really connecting with the audience and making them care.
That's he looks like Mr. Bean. Hindu Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, your Surgeon General, all the way from the UK. Mr. Bean.
Right now, I trust him more.
Yeah. All right. We've heard from Shawn. Let's hear from the Reverend. Sanitize it, gentlemen, please.
It's very rough. Okay.
All
right. Let's say this. And Shawn, you once again, laid the groundwork there about their approach, but they also know they have a faulty product, and that it is something unquestionably that the ingredients they cannot sell. If McDonald's talks about his juicy hamburger made with top ground beef, steer beef, and they tell you about all the elements that went in to make it great, you have not heard one thing, what goes inside. The reason why, if they tell you what's inside, you won't take it. And when you're trying to sell just from a facade, the American people, a great percentage of the American people basically are going to be cautious and reject. Right now, they're forcing people in a nice way. Oh, you can't come to school here. You're not going to be able to work on this job. They fired nurses at St. Barnabas here, 6 of them that would not take it.
I do know there was a lawsuit in Houston where some nurses sued against taking it, and their lawsuit was dismissed by the judge. That's happened. It's fun, and not to cut you off, Reverend, but I can make the point. The NFL announced that if your team, this came out today, this is not a conspiracy theory. The NFL has announced that if your team has an outbreak of COVID-19 from unvaccinated players,
that was the key.
Unvaccinated players, then you will forfeit the game if you don't have the number of players that are available. It will count as a forfeit if you're not able to participate.
You also have to make up the income they lost.
Right. And earlier today, I didn't know that part, but DeAndre Hopkins, the wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals, he actually put out a tweet. He deleted it, but he was contemplating retirement because of that.
I didn't know it was Hopkins, but yes, he says, I have to rethink my career now. I hope he remains strong. This is bigger, and I know it'd be very painful, but this is bigger than your career. You're talking about the seduction of a nation, and this is unquestionably, but good news. I got good news. I haven't had good news in a long time on this issue. Good news. A study out from Spain and the BBC, and I'm going to try and say this so you indeed remain. They drew blood from a person who took it and blood from a person who did not take it. They looked at the blood cells, the cells in the blood. The one that took it, totally damaged. This is causing the clots, the heart attacks.
We got to be careful.
Okay. All right. Well, it is unquestionably something that now is conclusive proof I have not been able to say that in my struggle with this. Conclusive proof. And anything you take into your system that is literally totally detrimental will have a detrimental effect. Plain and simple. And I'm not using the word I want to use. Now, I would ask, I very rarely plug anything, but I do run for the assembly. I do just to do what I'm doing right now, educate people. I have never won, but I've certainly have turned people on to truth that I normally would not have reached. Childress for Assembly. Childress for Assembly. That's either for or FOR.com. Tomorrow I'll be posting that information that I will not come directly out and say on your program, but it will certainly be conclusive proof. My position has been extremely accurate. I did not doubt it, but it's painful to see and know that something so diabolical is being executed with the knowledge of what it will do to you. It has not been a deterrent by your most trusted institution, or should be your most entrusted institution other than the clergy, and that's your doctor.
Oh yeah, well, your doctor, I mean, the doctors have taken what's called the Hippocratic Oath, which is their first and foremost priority is the health and care of their patients. So
I will do no harm.
You will do no harm to them, correct. But we know that the medical industry is, pharmaceutical industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. I'll say that much. And there's more money in people being sick than there is in curing them.
Sadly. I think Shawn touched on it when he talked about Paul Rand. What's his name?
Rand Paul.
Rand Paul. Yeah, Rand Paul. He is he and a couple others, but Rand Paul, who is a doctor, has taken him to task, exposed him so much. I don't see how anyone can have any trust in Fauci. But I said this a year ago just by watching him. And a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. And the reason why he's unstable because he's never telling you the truth. He has an agenda.
I agree with that. I can definitely agree with that.
He has an agenda. So he's with. Did you realize that George Soros and Bill Gates bought the testing company? I forgot the name of the testing company that made the swab test that they stick up your nose. They just bought that company.
That's dangerous.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
Please.
It's even more dangerous. He just got divorced.
You're right. And she got 45 billion. Man.
Not nothing to lose now. It's worse.
45 billion. I don't mock
and my main thing too is that you can, from my understanding of it, I know how vaccines work because I have family that are in the medical field, and my family members have gotten a vaccine. I can say that, and if that's their right, if they choose to go through that, I can't do anything about it. People have a right to do what they want per se, but I know that they have been people that have, I'll just say this much, they want me to get it, pressure me to do it. I have had myself second thoughts about it just based off information that I've heard. It really, you can't really trust the information you get from mainstream media anymore. You can't trust from third party sources you thought you could never trust. But I can't even trust I can't trust CNN and MSNBC because they've been exposed lying multiple times on different stuff. And I'm not just talking about COVID-19. I'm talking about things that happened in Iraq, the war in Iraq. Look how they reported this Bill Cosby situation. They did a piss poor job of that. So it just makes you don't trust anybody. DTA, like Stone Cold Steve Austin used to say.
You don't trust the people that have a vested interest in it. The Facebook fact check for the vaccines, that company itself has a $2 billion investment in the vaccine, in the pharmaceuticals. I mean, America just needs to wake up. This is a war. By my natural eye, we are losing badly, but I believe God will intervene. I honestly, sincerely mean that. They're getting ready to get shot down by the Spaniard study and one in the BBC, where they took the slides out. They put the blood of one who did get it and the blood of one who did not. This is being repeated. This is concrete proof. There hasn't been anything like this before. It already has 1 million views. I'm getting ready to put it up on my site tomorrow morning. But
It's
already,
not on YouTube. It's not on YouTube.
Oh no, they won't let that on YouTube. And see, audience, they censor this man, this program. What has he said that is worth censoring? What did he say? He has no First Amendment right. He can't give an opinion on the subject matter. We don't even know. We don't even understand we're under siege right now. What's the First Amendment? Freedom of speech. That's the first thing they started with.
Press, yeah.
And so, I mean, and when that has been taken away, which they are on their way to, it's more so now than at any other time since we've been a nation, you got to know that you've been invaded. The Trojan horse has been very effective. It is here. And I say to people, I mean, come on. You just pointed it out today. You know Biden and Kamala aren't calling any shots. This is like a world cabal running this thing. And it's to diminish this country, to dumb down its people, and for control. Why would I take something that's going to magnetize my arm, my body? Why would I take something that's giving me great fatigue? Why am I taking something that's changing my DNA? Why don't you have one show somewhere that would challenge all the objections? You will never see it. You will never see it. Why didn't CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC have one show, one program saying, well, we're going to take the pros and the cons? Ha ha. That means you've been had. That means the okie doke is going on. And you need to just wake up and realize America is not America right now. It may never be.
No, we're in the Fourth Reich right now. This is Nazi Germany.
Very good.
It's worse than Nazi Germany. Even Dick Gregory, God bless his soul, Dick Gregory once stated this, that told me that what they plan to do with the New World Order will make what Hitler did to the Jews look like a walk in the park, like it was Boy Scouts.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Wow. That's an insight.
Dick was always into that. I mean, Dick Gregory, I mean, I learned a lot of stuff from him. I mean, he talked about, you know, the death of Martin Luther King Jr., John F. Kennedy. He was actually at the trial in Memphis when Lloyd Jowers, this was the white boy who owned that restaurant where supposedly he was involved with the mafia, because they were saying the mafia, the CIA, the military industrial complex, and the FBI and the Memphis Police Department were all involved with Dr. King's murder. But he said they went further than that. He said that there were blacks unnamed that were involved as well, which I know they were, just like Malcolm X.
Sure.
And even in New Jersey, the guy who supposedly fired the shotgun at Malcolm X lived in New Jersey, where you, I don't know if it's in your city, but he lived in New Jersey. He died a couple of years ago.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. So they've always had sellouts involved in that. And Rev, we can talk about that a little later too, because I know you had some interesting stuff before. But I'm familiar with it. Judge Joe Brown even talks about it, because he was the judge that heard James Earl Ray's last appeal, and they actually tried to kill him.
Sure, because he didn't do it. They
tried to kill Judge Joe Brown.
Oh wow!
They broke into his house. This is what he told me, and you guys can look at the video. He was up late one night, going over some stuff for a trial in the morning, and he could hear something outside his window. And when he looked, he saw several individuals, all in black armor, with
you know what that is?
A glass cutter. Yeah, a window cutter. You know how they cut the windows when they try to break in without raising the window up?
Right.
Yeah. And he said, "Oh hell no!" He grabs his 45, and he just as soon as he waited for him to walk in, he opened fire, and it was a shootout. He said the funny thing is he had a police captain who he was friends with come look at it, but no report was made. They don't know who the individuals were, but he got several of them because he could hear them saying and blood was everywhere. So they couldn't identify who was who.
Whoa. I've never heard that. I've heard some of the stories. I didn't hear that one. Wow.
Right. But that has happened. But but that's another story we could discuss. But I did want to ask everyone, please give to that Cash App. You see the donate to the Cash App at the bottom, Gavin Richard Esquire, Google Pay, and PayPal, the same email, gavin.grich1@gmail.com, or you could do Zelle. That's my phone number there. If you'd like to donate cash there. I can see Judge Joe laying some Rudy Ray Moore lines on these fools. You better go back to bed unless you want me to go upside your head, son. I deal with evidence, and the evidence will be your dead body on this floor for my self-defense claim. You mean to tell me? Yeah, let me move on because I know it's getting late. But final thing I wanted to discuss is I used to be, gentlemen, a fan of, I don't know if you can say this, Pastor, but I enjoyed the Sports Illustrated swimsuit covers. And I remember when Tyra Banks, yeah, you know what's coming. Tyra Banks was the first Black model on the cover of Sports Illustrated back in 1997, 1998. I remember that issue exactly. I remember it being right in my father's bathroom. Yeah, I enjoyed it. And I don't know what it has become today because this happened. They had Naomi Osaka, Megan Thee Stallion, who is a beautiful Megan Thee Stallion and Naomi, beautiful women. Now, notice I call them women. And then there's Lena Bloom. I've never heard of this person. I use person for a reason because he is, or this person is the first transgender on a cover of a swimsuit magazine on Sports Illustrated. And he said, it says here, Leanna is legendary in the world of activism, strikingly gorgeous and has an undeniable sense of self that shines through the minute she walks on set, says Day. Day is the person who obviously is responsible for creating the shoot. He's the editor-in-chief, MJ Day. And this 27-year-old uses this platform to speak out about acceptance, love, and change. She's passionate about inspiring others to love themselves and be who they want to be. Now, let me say this because I've seen stories about this, especially when it comes with transgenders and so forth. Let me be abundantly clear. This is not me hating anybody, but or encouraging violence. This is just a straight talk. One of the big problems where we see violence against trans, you hear that term thrown about, and I've seen videos about this, is that there are, and someone was sharing this, I believe it's Brother Dennis Sperling, on how they trick straight men into getting in relationships with transgender women. That's what actually gets them killed.
Right.
Because when you have someone pretending to be something that they're not, and you make relations with this person, I don't like the word cisgender, which is what they call straight people. I'm just straight. I'm heterosexual. I'm a man. That's it. I'm a straight man, just like Sean and Pastor Childress and other people in this chat. You're a straight individual. You like the opposite sex because that's in line with nature. That's not hate speech.
No.
That's not me saying that you're less than a person. I'm just speaking what science is. I'm speaking what nature says. Nature is and nature was commanded by the Creator, by God. He said it in the beginning, and I'm not trying to use Bible quotes, but he said it in the beginning when he made Adam and said, "It is not right that man should live alone."
Sure.
And he put Adam in a sleep, pulled his rib from him, and made woman, and said, "Flesh of my flesh." And they walk as one. So when God tells them, "Go and fill the earth and multiply," there's a very important reason why you take a male and female back then, and that's the only way you can multiply.
Amen.
Right now, you have this person, Lena Bloom, and I don't know them, but I have to say, in our times, especially when we're talking about the agenda, I think a lot of people, I have to say this, a lot of women have been complacent in accepting being erased. And by that, I mean, they defend a lot. I see a lot of females that defend, had the gay friend, defended all of it, thought it was cool, to have that because they're not hitting on you, things of that nature. And now you're being replaced. This is somebody who cannot. It doesn't matter what they change themselves. They can't change their DNA. They can't have children. They don't go through a cycle. I've never heard of one going through a cycle.
Well, they're working on it, but go ahead.
Well, a cycle of giving birth. Oh, yeah, they're working on it, but still, biologically, there's nothing to change your DNA, to my knowledge.
Nothing.
And I know they got this stuff like transhumanism that's going on. But I'm getting real tired of seeing this stuff.
Okay. I think America agrees, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm finished. I'm real tired, but Pastor, I'll let you go and then Sean.
Yeah, I believe it or not, America agrees with you, but they've lost the pulse for the people. Sports Illustrated is failing. It is not the magazine. It's not the magazine it used to be back in the day, where it was coveted. I mean, if you were a sports enthusiast, you read, Sports Illustrated, and yes, the swimsuit issue was the hottest seller. This wokeism that they think they're trying to speak to right now in this magazine is their attempt to try to make themselves relevant, which is sad. And they don't know their audience. This is what's happened to sports. This is, when Michael Jordan was in the playoffs, I think 36 million people watched.
Right.
Now this past one with the politics, the demonstration. I mean, it's crazy. It was under 9 million people. They need to wake up and smell the coffee, so to speak. That America does not want this wokeism down their sports. They really don't want it in America. And yet that was the sacred place, surprisingly, that's really beginning to turn the tide of the thinking and the mindset of Americans when they've invaded sports. When you turn on the game on Sunday, you want to put all that stuff aside. And Kaepernick, I understand, I have my pros and cons on that. I know what he's saying, all that, but there's a place for that. It comes to the point where the people who are watching it, you drug them back into their day-to-day when you did that. And you and when you start with all the wokeism of transgenderism and homosexual and lesbians, they don't want sports enthusiasts. They want to see their sports clean of politics. They do not. So, but it's a blessing. So it's a blessing. People are beginning to see Sports Illustrated doesn't have the same writers that even once had because of its low volume, and a lot of the good ones are gone. So it's their way of trying to, like I said, rise to the top through this shock swimsuit issue. I don't. It will not work to their advantage. They don't understand the pulse of the people. There's a shifting in that, and they needed to look at the. They need to look at the data when it comes to how the NFL even. I was shocked at how their numbers are dwindling because of this and other sports. And we're in a bad spot right here, but it's because Americans want to see sports. They do not want, they want to be able to relax and see it. They don't want to believe somebody's trying to proselytize them into some type of political thought or ideology. So it's sad, but I just believe there is an awakening coming. It's nothing short. That's anything short of that will not save this country. But that was a mistake by Sports Illustrated.
Shawn,
this is another case of get woke, go broke, because your people at Sports Illustrated, they are caught up in social justice and these whole empty symbolic gestures by talking about they're having the first whoever in their magazine. But most of the people out here who watch sports, they want to see the game, and the game for them, like the Reverend has said, is an escape for them. They want to go out here and take a break from their lives and watch some fun action on the court. And that's not something that you're going to see in Sports Illustrated these days. I remember back in the 90s, the Tyra swimsuit issue, and I really want to get another copy of that one. But people love that type of stuff because you had sexy supermodels in swimsuits, and that's what people came to the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition for. They wanted to see extremely attractive women dressed up in swimsuits, looking sexy, and they're not getting that. Instead, what the publisher of Sports Illustrated wants to do is go out here and give you their politics, and politics and business just don't really mix well together when it comes down to the entertainment industry, because people go to the entertainment industry for an escape. They've already got a hard enough life on these jobs and dealing with their personal issues. So a lot of people, they just want to go out here and just look at some attractive women. And instead of giving us attractive women, they want to give us activists. And I already got enough people coming at me with all sorts of issues all the time. And if you want drama, you can go look outside your window or watch the 6 o'clock news. Nobody wants to see this kind of content on in a swimsuit issue. I mean, the swimsuit issue, what made it sell was you were seeing extremely attractive women dressed up in swimsuits. Guys bought it because they wanted to look at the ladies. Ladies bought it because they wanted to see what their man would like and if they could dress up like that. And these guys out here, they're sitting there thinking, oh, I want to push an agenda, but I didn't come here for an agenda. I didn't come out here to be going out here and hearing you talk about your politics. And a smart business person leaves their politics at the door because the customer doesn't want to hear your politics at the end of the day. They don't want to hear you telling me who to support and who to go out here and be a part of. They don't want to hear your politics. All they want to do is be able to just watch a game, see guys like I did back in the 90s watching Michael Jordan go out here and dominate on the court, hopefully hoping and wishing that Patrick Ewing and the Knicks would eventually go to the playoffs. Never happened, but that's what we wanted to see. And we wanted to go out here and just really just enjoy these games and really enjoy them. But it's hard to do that in today's Major League Baseball, today's NFL, and today's NBA, because all they do is talk about politics, and they're having people sitting there in your face with giving you a problem. And again, if you sell people a problem, you're not going to get many sales because people already have enough problems. You need to give them either a solution or you need to give them an escape. So what incentive do I have to buy an issue of Sports Illustrated if there's a person who is not 100% female? Because I came here to look at females. I did not come here for you to talk about these symbolic gestures as related to politics. That's not going to sell you the bulk of your magazines. No, what's going to sell you the bulk of your magazines, and the publishing industry is really struggling right now, is you have to give the customer what they want. And if you don't give the customer what they want, then they're not going to buy your stuff. And that's why the statement "get woke, go broke" is so true, because these wokesters, they want to push agenda at you and they want to shove it down your throat. And the harder you shove, the harder they push back. And when they push back, what they do is they close their wallet, and that leads to you winding up going broke and going out of business.
Yeah. I am not wealthy, but I identify as somewhat wealthy. I'm trans wealthy. Yeah, well, what's to stop that? Like the Rachel Dolezal thing. She wanted to be black, and she was calling herself a black woman. I saw a white model who actually got her skin darkened black. This big bosom model, I think from South Africa, and she really looks like Black Pete if you see her. It was awful, but this white model put herself, basically she did what Robert Downey Jr. did in Tropic Thunder.
That's insane.
Yeah, hold on. Let me show you. Chanel Whitney Brown, is this her? No, it's not her. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, this is her. Let me stop. This is a white model that actually identifies as black, changed her skin color. That's her.
That's what we used to call a crazy person. We truly do need to bring back the mental institutions, because we have a bunch of insane people running around.
And she travels the world and supports. Yeah, she supports BLM, obviously, because she's nuts.
Yeah.
You know, my issue with BLM is not about the slogan Black Lives Matter. It's about what they have done. What they support, their anti-family. They do, and I think they run a lot of fraudulent stuff. Me personally, there's a lot going on there. But I've talked about BLM before. We've talked about it, Judge Jill and I. But she takes a shot of melanin and thinks she's black. Shawn, thank you so much. This is Computer Robots. Yes, we do need to bring back the mental institutions, because there are a lot of crazy people here in today's world. No doubt about it. Yeah. Yep, trans wealthy. Right. The Sports Illustrated edition is a no bulge south of the borders. Oh man, y'all killing me with the comments. All right, well, I didn't have any much further to go on, but I'll leave these as my closing comments, and I'm speaking from the heart. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important that you have access and create our own media with shows like this tonight. I see that you all are saying how you enjoyed having me come on, having me do the show every Thursday. Remember, I do not get paid for any of this stuff. Although the channel is monetized, likely, I'm sure after this live stream ends, I'm going to have a copyright strike for playing my own song. And I think that's an automatic issue more than anything. Just because DistroKid, which is my distributor, they hear it, and so automatically it picks up. Because I've had the copyright strikes dismissed, but what DJ Vlad did was some sucker stuff. That was something separate. And for something he didn't, like I said, he didn't even own. That was an ad that was made public. That was fair use. So, but that shows you the power of censorship. That shows you the power also of ownership. When you can control the narrative, you can basically control who tells it. And that's why it's important. I can't stress the importance enough of donating to the channel so I can grow further, add some new things eventually. I want to create, I think we need a black network. I think we need, not like that DNC crap that they got going on where it's basically white liberals in blackface. We need something that's balanced. BET at one time They tried to be honest with it, but couldn't. It failed to hold up to what it could have been. Unfortunately, your owners of Viacom, CBS, that's what owns BET. That's what owns that. So black people do not control that. I see Black Mama in the chat. Hello, Black Mama, Derek Bailey, all the usual suspects that are here. But control the narrative, guys, or else somebody will control you. I want to thank Pastor Childress for coming on. Pastor Childress' website is still up. You can look at blackgenocide.org, blackgenocide.org. Go there. He has been a fighter in the black communities for the pro-life movement. He's anti-abortion. And many people need to read and understand the significance of why abortion was created in this country. It wasn't about women's rights. It was about controlling people, which is what we're talking about today. Also, buy Shawn's latest books, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess and John Haynes Taking Care of Business on Amazon.com. I'm still getting my website maintained, but we have Nani's Creole's Cleanse. If people want to take a look at the website, you can eventually. I've had people order on there, but I'm still trying to get the shipping and handling aspect, working on those aspects where people can order spices and I'll send them. And I'm trying to get it in stores now. Hopefully I don't go through any censorship like I have with YouTube. I hope Walmart and Target or Rouse's or Winn-Dixie are not like this, where if I don't know if they're liberal or conservative or whatnot, or if they're on that page, but it's dangerous out here trying to even make a living on YouTube. You can't do it on YouTube, then where can you? But donate to the Cash App if you can, please, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Shawn, and I am working on my latest book. Very soon, in the next few weeks, you'll see a trailer for it. So be on the lookout.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes, I'm putting the finishing touches on it. I've been working real hard. It's been over a year and a half now. The title of the book is The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in America. So you guys don't want to miss that. And I'll let you know when you can all order it. So just working on it one step at a time. But anyway, guys, thank you all for tuning in. And thank you for the congratulations. Did anybody have any last top comments they want to say?
No, I don't have anything else to say.
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you
for having me on the show.
Thank y'all. And watch this agenda stuff that they got going on, man. Don't let nobody bully you into doing something you're uncomfortable with. You be your own individual. Like I said, with this whole thing and with this transgender stuff, I mean, let me be clear, I have represented people from all walks of life. I've had LGBTQ friendly clients. I've had gay clients I've represented. I've had Hispanic, Latino, Jewish. I have colleagues that different backgrounds, and I treat others how I want to be treated. That does not mean I have to agree with everything that they say either.
Yeah.
Just like my brother and I do not agree on everything. We argue all the time, but I still love my brother. He is the father of two nephews who are out of this world to me. So I love dearly. But even Dad and I still argue, but that's still my father. So,
right.
My mom too. So people can get along. So yeah. Agree to disagree. Well, anyway, guys, that's it for me. It is time to get on up and get on out of here. This has been another edition of Gavin Richard Presents, the hottest live stream on Thursday nights. We keep growing and growing. I want to thank my 1,000 subscribers for getting me to that mark. This channel has been, I can tell you some good news. The channel is monetized now. It can be monetized. I did get a notification, but let's see if this video is still going to be up tomorrow. I will get a notification at 2:00 that because of my talk, I had medical disinformation, or I even talked about DJ Vlad. my talking about that ad, my video is gonna my video's been removed, and I can't comment for 2 weeks or whatever it'll be. So we'll see what happens. But gentlemen, thank y'all.
All right.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everyone, and I will see you all in the next one. I'll holla. Peace.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat. Cause on the dance floor is where we're moving. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the. Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really moving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop, or do the bunny hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. Now 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you're breathing, you're achieving. So if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll be. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, start to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up, baby. Yeah, gotta get on. Come on, baby, gotta get on. Baby. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.